One of the things that motivates me in my research, and really in my design practice, and it goes into my teaching as well, is the fact that before I could become a designer, like I've always really loved the visual. Like since I was a little kid, I loved books and I loved illustrations, and my first ambition was to be Maurice Sendak, right, to be a children's book designer. But I couldn't let myself do that until I figured out a reason to do that, you know, and that reason didn't really I didn't really figure out what that reason was until quite a bit later. And the reason had to do with something I had to reach really far back for. When I was a little kid, I was always sick, and I was really conscious of the drain that my health was on my family. That is like fundamental to the things I do. Service design, one right now is doing a project called Garden on the Go, which is a kind of mobile produce market that goes to different neighborhoods in downtown Indianapolis that are considered quote-unquote food deserts.
Garden on the Go is IU Health's signature obesity prevention program that we launched 19 months ago in an effort to bring more affordable, fresh, healthy produce to neighborhoods of need in Marion County. We're looking at challenging problems that have been attempted to be addressed for years, and we're not coming up with the solutions that are making those changes last, and so I think it takes fresh perspective to engage with professionals in other areas that can look at the same problem that we're looking at, but through a different lens. So I think that's the value of a relationship with Helen and the department that she represents. I'm very much looking forward to working with Herron again. I think that each of us bring a different depth of expertise that together will be very powerful.
So my path to Martha Stewart basically started with my looking for a job. I'd graduated from Yale with an MFA in graphic design. People there were so creative and so kind of into collaborative work, and they looked at my portfolio and thought, oh yeah, you kind of fit in. I didn't know what that meant. It had something to do with a certain kind of aesthetic that I was beginning to look at in graduate school that had to do with instructional kind of ways of using graphic design, which anything that she has you make, there's a very specific art-directed, very carefully art-directed way of telling the viewer and showing the viewer how to do it. There's some really basic principles, and some of those principles are really inherently visual and have to do with kind of taking in visual information and making sense of it. I remember her saying that she thought of herself as a teacher, right? She kind of thinks of herself primarily as a teacher. Basically, over the course of the day, we're going to be listening to things that folks want or could use, and then addressing them as best we can. One of the cool things that the visual communication design department has been involved in lately was an activity at the TEDx Indy conference that was held in October. The TED conferences are internationally recognized as probably one of the leading sources of cutting-edge ideas across disciplines. Big ideas in technology, big ideas in education, big ideas in design, big ideas in medicine, in business. Leaders in those fields all come to the TED conferences and share their ideas.
It's a lot more fun to work in a group and to adapt as you go, rather than just have an assignment and work from it there. This is firsthand, and it's a lot more beneficial that way.
Working here at TEDx is wonderful because we have that feedback from the attendees and from the people who are running the program. We had to work with people and collaborate, and we had to wait for responses and permission, and it was really good practice to see how it really works in the real world.
I think because of my experience at Martha and because of other experiences that I've had in education that actually I could also link back to Martha, students at Herron get a pretty unusual kind of taste of the professional world. At the university, your research agenda, which I often kind of translate over into my projects and really express what my interests are through the projects that I work on, the people that I'm working with, the way I work on those projects, the students that I bring in. That's fantastic. That's like kid in a candy store stuff. And when you get to couple that with relationships that you build with your students and the fact that you are doing something really meaningful, not just for you as a teacher, but for them as students, you can't get better than that.